5 spine-chilling true school lockdown experiences that reveal sinister secrets and cursed shadows. Mia sat in the back of her history class, sketching the slight curves of a sunflower, when the school intercom crackled to life with a voice dripping in urgency. "Attention, everyone. We are in lockdown. There has been a reported intruder on campus." Her heart dropped. Panic surged through the room, blooming like dark ink spreading across fresh paper. The normally warm air felt cold, thick with dread. Collins slammed the door shut and locked it, his eyes darting to the windows with a frantic energy that sent murmurs rippling through the students. Mia glanced at Sarah, her best friend, whose face was ghostly pale, trembling fingers biting into the desk's edge. "Did you see? There's a figure," she whispered, her voice trembling as sharply as the chairs around them. Hours dragged on like a nightmare playing in slow motion. The classroom turned into a prison, the ticking clock now a metronome of anxiety. Whispers turned to stories, each tale designed to distract from the growing fear, yet they only fueled the tension. "Did you hear about the pact?" someone blurted, sending chills down Mia's spine. A pact? This school had long been whispered about. Stories of the old founding, dark sacrifices to keep the monsters at bay. Mia shuddered at the thought. "Guys, let's just focus," Mr. Collins said, as he peered out the curtain. But in that moment, the door creaked open a tad too far, and a teacher slipped inside, a look of sheer terror on their face. But then, they weren't there at all. The air thickened, and whispers shifted to frenzied conversations as the panic spread like wildfire. "Did anyone see?" Eyes darted, breaths quickened. Mia tightened her grip on her pencil, fingers trembling as she tried to make sense of it. That's when she noticed Kyle, a quiet boy who often sat in the corner, sketching revelations of chaos on his notebook. His sketches' hard lines and sharp edges depicted violent scenes of the very hallway now screaming for help. Mia took a cautious step closer. "Kyle, what are you drawing?" she stammered. "Do you hear them?" he murmured, eyes wide and wild. "The shadows are watching us, they know." Mia felt cold sweat trickle down her back. Was he right? Were the whispers imagined or real? Had the legend seeped into their reality? Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The atmosphere turned suffocating, the lights flickered ominously, and shadows seemed to dance at the edges of her vision. Mia steeled herself, her instincts screaming at her that something monstrous lurked in the depths of their sanctuary. Just then, the voice, chilling and hollow, whispered from the corner. "It's too late to escape." Was it one of the teachers? Or Sarah, who was now frozen with fear? Heart pounding like war drums, Mia turned toward the sound, dread pooling in the pit of her stomach. Every heartbeat echoed a question: what was truly happening behind those walls, and who was pulling the strings? The classroom held its breath, but Mia knew they were running out of time. Mia felt the room's air grow heavier, almost suffocating as the shadows pressed closer. The whispers were like a ghastly chorus, echoing in her ears, merging with the pounding of her heart. "You have to let them in," the voice hissed, hauntingly close to her ear. She spun around, scanning the room for its source, but the only things staring back were terrified faces. The clock continued its relentless ticking, each second stretching out like an eternity. Sarah clutched at Mia's arm, her nails biting into her skin. "What do you think it wants?" she whispered, but there was a tremor in her voice that suggested she already knew. Mr. Collins had become a frozen statue, blending into the walls as he struggled with whatever horror lurked just outside. The students leaned closer to one another, forming a barricade of bodies against the unknown threat. Yet Mia's gaze was drawn back to Kyle. His wide eyes were alight with a manic glow, and the sketches in his notebook seemed to pulse with an energy of their own. The images twisted into grotesque forms, shadows stretching beyond the confines of the paper, then they all jumped as the door rattled violently. Mia's heart leaped. "It's here!" someone screamed. The classroom erupted into an eruption of panic. Desks were pushed aside, chairs toppled, and shouts filled the air, merging into a chaotic symphony of fear. "Calm down. Stay quiet," Mr. Collins demanded, his voice breaking through the din. But the command fell flat against the fear consuming them. Suddenly, the door gave way, swinging open just a fraction as if something unseen pressed against it. Mia felt her stomach drop. A dark shape loomed in the narrow glimpse of freedom, its features obscured by shadows. It was as if the very essence of darkness had come alive. "What do we do?" Sarah's voice trembled. Mia could see every muscle in her friend's face tense, terror running through her like electricity. "Watch, just watch," Kyle said, his voice oddly calm against the hysteria. As the figure seemed to merge and disengage from the shadows, Mia felt it drawing her in. What was it? Was it the intruder or something far worse? She had never believed in the school's ghost stories, but the dread mounting felt too real to deny. Walker, was that what they called it? A manifestation of all the debts unpaid? Mia stumbled back, gripping Sarah's arm tighter, uncertainty breeding fear. Then, the lights flickered again, dimming to almost complete darkness. The murmurs faded. "Do you see it?" Kyle whispered, his voice barely audible. "It's coming for us, for you." The shadows danced, swirling around the room. And then the figure stepped through the door entirely. It wasn't just an absence of light but a conversing current of darkness, a terrible entity that seemed to breathe. Mia's thoughts collided in chaos. This was no ordinary intruder. The temperature plummeted as the ink-black figure hovered at the room's edge. "You belong to me now," it hissed, voice like gravel and dust. The lights flickered once more, and in that instant, glimmers of moments long gone passed through its shape, children laughing, running, a pact sealing their fate. Before Mia could grasp the enormity of the revelation, another figure appeared within the shadows, matching the first but spinning in perfect harmony. The classroom filled with gasps, eyes wide with terror as realization clawed into her mind. Mia felt her throat tighten as she understood. This wasn't just an intruder. It was a reckoning, and they had awakened something that had long lain dormant. Then, the overwhelming darkness surged forward, like an ocean wave crashing over them, suffocating and relentless, pulling each of them into its depths. Mia turned to Kyle, his own eyes wide with realization. "We have to find a way out." But as the shadows swallowed them whole, she feared it was already too late. Mia's scream was swallowed by the waves of darkness crashing into the classroom. Panic turned everything into chaos as the shadows twisted and swirled around them, colder than ice. Faces blurred into features of horror, mouths wide but soundlessly screaming. "Do something, Kyle!" Sarah shouted, her voice breaking, drowning in the encroaching nightmare. Kyle's eyes darted around the room, frantic yet oddly determined. "We can't just stand here," he shouted, his breath quickening. Desks and chairs flew about as if caught in a whirlwind. They were trapped in a storm of dark energy, and Mia clutched Sarah tighter, feeling her friend's heartbeat race against her arm. "Look at the drawings," Kyle yelled, pointing at his notebook now lying on the floor. Its pages flapped as if eager to escape. They show the past. What's coming?" He stumbled towards it, the shadows reaching for him like a pack of ravenous wolves. Mia felt a pull, something deeper than fear compelling her, intense curiosity mixed with dread. "No! Come back!" she cried, but Kyle was already crouched down, tracing a silhouette of a doorway sketched in haste. Lines danced and flickered under the dim lights, revealing something just beyond sight. The figures in the corner morphed into ghastly shapes, pulsating with hunger. "You must choose," A voice shrieked out of the darkness, ringing in their ears. "Choose what?" Mia cried, confusion intertwining with terror. Every instinct screamed to flee, yet something tethered them, as if the room itself had begun to warp. Kyle rose, panic etched across his face. "I don't know. Maybe we can." The temperature dropped further, and icy fingers of fear encircled Mia's heart. The first shadow lunged toward them, a claw extending, stretching impossibly wide. Sarah screamed as it drew near, a haze of despair engulfing them. "Run!" Kyle yelled, breaking the spell that held her. Without a second thought, she dashed towards the back of the room, the chilling presence nipping at her heels. Desks erupted in her wake, some seemed to shift away as if protecting her. Mia hardly remembered their escape through the classroom, she just knew gates held in the dark swung wide, threatening to engulf them. Suddenly, Mia tripped, sprawling onto the floor as something grasped her ankle from beneath. A chill ran through her, dragging her closer to the void. "Help!" she yelled, scrambling, clawing at the linoleum as shadows whispered taunts, teasing her fragility. "Grab her!" Kyle shouted, lunging forward. Strong hands wrapped around her arm, pulling with an urgency edged in dread. She gazed into his eyes, desperate for hope. "We have to hold on," he shouted. The darkness roared, closer and closer, blending into a deep, rumbling growl that echoed through the classroom. The air thickened, making everything feel surreal. Mia felt the shadows around her pulse with malevolence. She looked skyward toward the flickering lights above, the room morphing, reverberating with energy both vibrant and horrific. Something flickered heavily against the edges of her vision, beckoning. "Together!" Sarah yelled, shock igniting courage. They formed a circle, hands clinging in unity. In that brief moment, they found each other's strength, and a glimmer of warmth pulsed through their fingers. But just as hope sparked, the shadows surged with a deafening roar, swallowing the light whole. "Let them in!" the terrible voice screeched. With all they had, the three of them fought the growing darkness, prepared for whatever price they had to pay. They felt the walls constricting, pressing against them, a final plea against their desperate escape. Then, all at once, they felt the force pull back, just for a sliver of a second. Mia looked back into the swell of darkness that howled, each shape a reminder of dread that lingered. The whispers began to morph into shrieks, echoing through the room like a death knell for hope. Had they escaped? Or merely delayed the inevitable? The weight of uncertainty festered in the air, thick and suffocating. The moment split, hanging like a pendulum teetering on the edge, and beneath their feet, the ground felt like it wanted to give way. What's next? Sarah panted, blinking against the oppressive weight. And then, the classroom door slammed shut, locking them inside with the encroaching shadows. Mia's heart dropped. "We're not safe yet." Dark laughter echoed through the air, promising terror yet to come. What horrors waited beyond those suffocating walls? Would they find freedom or face a darkness that feasted on their souls? The answer hung in the air like a noose, tightening, leaving them gasping for more than just the air they so desperately needed. The shadows writhed, eager to reclaim their lost prey. Anguished whispers folded in on themselves, darting through the classroom like frail wraiths seeking revenge. Mia's lungs tightened, panic swallowing her breath. "Think!" Kyle shouted, eyes wide with desperation. His gaze flitted around, searching for something, anything that could stop the chaos unraveling around them. Shadows hissed at the edges of his vision, taunting with their sinister giggles. Let us break the door down," Sarah suggested, pointing toward the sealed exit that now felt like a tomb. Kyle shook his head, terror narrowing his focus. "It's no use. We need." His voice fell away as a chilling gust swept over them, carrying a low growl that reverberated in their bones. "Maybe we can fight back," Mia urged, mustering courage from deep within. "The drawings. They showed us something. What if we can use Kyle's sketches?" Sweat pooled at her brow, the icy aura crawling closer. "Sketches? Kyle echoed, confused. The doorway. She exclaimed, heart racing. Maybe it can help us. Before they could think twice, Mia rushed over to the scattered pages on the floor, scanning the chaotic designs. Each sketch blurred in and out of focus, but one stood out, a tightly drawn archway entwined with dark tendrils, trembling on the edges like a living thing. A burst of warmth ignited within her, a flicker of hope. Look at this. This doorway could be our way out. As Kyle joined her side, Sarah pulled him closer. What if it leads back to that place? Mia shrugged off her fear. Anything is better than staying here. We have to try. The darkness thickened, revealing monstrous embodiments shaped like twisted grief. Each figure lurked closer, a parade of despair and haunting menace. With shaky hands, Mia pressed her palm against the sketch, her heart thudding. Please work. She whispered, willing it to resonate. Sarah wrapped her fingers around Mia's wrist, Kyle standing firm beside them, anchored by their shared desperation. The moment they formed the connection, the air shifted. The shadows recoiled slightly, but then surged forward, sensing the disruption. Not like this. Not again. Kyle yelled. Shadows screamed in angry rebellion, thrashing against the trio as if they were weighty chains trying to drag them back. The door. Sarah cried, pointing at the sketch. You have to visualize it. Mia focused, her mind swirling with the dimension of the looming drawing. She squeezed her eyes shut, imagining the cool wooden arch, the soft light pouring from it glowing like salvation. Open up to us. Please. In a blinding flash, a soft light exploded from the sketch. Tendrils of shadow unraveled, twisting backwards. The walls quaked as the drawing pulsed with energy. But just as the light stretched outward, a towering shadow rushed forth. It lunged like an animal poised to strike. No! Kyle shouted, throwing himself forward, body colliding against the darkness. An otherworldly roar reverberated, drowning out their hearts. Mia felt her world shifting, her very essence tugged apart. Kyle! She screamed. In that critical moment, the shimmering doorway glimmered and began to take form behind the shadows. Heat radiated from its threshold, a siren beckoning them through. Leave him. Save yourselves. Kyle shouted, pain echoing in his voice, desperation clawing towards them. No. Mia felt tears slide down her cheeks, heart fracturing at the thought of abandoning her friend. But the door pulsed again, inches away. We can't hold on. Sarah yelled, pulling Mia forward, fingers slipping from Kyle's grasp. With a final, heartbreaking convulsion, Kyle fell into the dark maw of shadows, swallowed whole. A shudder rippled through the room, and all at once, Mia, feeling torn between love and fear, stepped toward the glowing arch they had to choose. With every ounce of will, she lunged for the light, wresting her heart from the crushing grip of horror. The light swallowed them, shadows reaching and clawing violently, reforming into a screaming void. Then, silence, Mia gasped, finding herself alone, the classroom behind her. Now shrouded in a thick, dark mist. The room loomed empty, but in the depth of the haze, something flickered, a whisper. Come find us. Her heart raced. Had they truly escaped? Or was the darkness just waiting to take hold once more? Mia turned, facing the desolate corridor ahead, a path teetering on the brink of hope and despair. The threat lurked closer, echoing with every heartbeat, daring her to venture further. Would she uncover the truth, or would the shadows claim her too? Mia stood frozen in the corridor, the cold mist swirling around her feet like restless spirits searching for a way home. Her breath hung in the air, each exhale a reminder of how vulnerable she felt. Come find us, the whisper echoed in her ears, scratching at her mind like a desperate plea. Racing thoughts consumed her. Was this a trap? A cruel game crafted by the shadows? Skipping a heartbeat, she shuffled forward, the corridor stretching open like a cavern. Familiar classroom doors lined the walls, all shut tight, but the darkness tossed and turned, casting shifting, blurry shapes under the flickering lights. Shivers coursed through her, a deep-rooted instinct telling her to bolt. Yet, something held her back. Kyle, the name slipped from her lips, a prayer. Fingers trembling, Mia reached for the nearest door, its smooth surface cool as ice. She pressed her ear against it, listening. Silence roared back. No laughter. No footsteps. Just a haunting void. She pushed slightly, but the door wouldn't budge, solid and unyielding, like her fear. "Why are you doing this?" she whispered, though she knew no one would answer. Moments ticked by in agonizing slowness. Mia felt the sensation of being watched, an unrelenting gaze prickling on her neck. The hairs on her arms rose as she backed away from the door and took a deep breath, resolving to press onward. The darkness surged. Shadows leapt from cracks in the walls, they frayed and unfurled like tendrils seeking her out. Panic surged again, and she turned sharply, bolting down the corridor. Her footsteps echoed, hollow and frantic, drowning out the whispers that swirled around her. "Find us." The cadence shifted, growing sinister, each word slipping further away from innocence. A promising void beckoned ahead, inviting yet foreboding. Through the mist, a door loomed at the end of the hall, slightly ajar. Light spilled through the crack, warm and inviting. She hesitated, her heart racing like a drum in the silence. What if it was a trap? But was it worse than facing the shadows? Mia swallowed hard. She needed to know what lay beyond. Taking cautious steps, she approached the door, feeling the heat radiate from its edges. Would she find answers, or deeper shadows waiting to swallow her whole? Pushing the door open, she was flooded by a blinding light that momentarily blinded her. Shielding her eyes, she stumbled forward into the new space, crashing into the desk in the center of the room. The sight that greeted her stole her breath away. It was a classroom, but it was different, too comfortable, too inviting, as if it was a reflection of a forgotten memory. The walls were adorned with cheerful artwork, colors vibrant and lively, seemingly untouched by the darkness that plagued the rest of the school. But here, every color felt wrong, deceiving in its brightness. "Mia," a voice breathed from the shadows draping across the far corner. "It couldn't be." She squinted through the haze. "Was that Kyle? Is that you?" She gasped, heart hammering in her chest. Suddenly, the shadows surged forward, darkening the room. The vibrant colors twisted grotesquely, shadow figures morphing into eerie shapes. The artwork warped, distorting smiles into grimaces. Panic flared anew as the room seemed to close in on her. The memory of Kyle's face flickered like a dying light. "You shouldn't have come here," the voice echoed, misleading in its familiarity, drawing closer. Resolute, Mia forced herself to focus, feelings of warmth and connection flooding her veins. "Kyle. What happened to you?" A hesitation, then shadows rippled dangerously in response. "You can't save us." Mia's heart dropped. "No. I won't accept that. I'm here to fight." She shouted against the overwhelming tide of despair. The shadowy figures pushed forward, intent on pulling her back into the darkness. The room cracked and warped, and she realized her friends, their memories, their shadows, they were all entangled in this nightmare. "Help us or they will consume you too." Was this the end? Would shadows claim her sanity, her very essence? With a scream rising from her core, Mia charged forward, refusing to succumb. "I will find you, Kyle. I will save us all." The darkness surged, wrapping around her, but at that moment, she felt a spark. Something in the depths of her resolve to break free, and just as the room began to fold upon itself, a crack of light shot forth from Mia's heart, a blinding beacon in the growing chaos. But as the shadows recoiled, a voice hissed from the dark, "You should have stayed hidden, Mia. Now it's too late." In the tumult of light and darkness, the battle was just beginning. Would Mia survive the fury of the shadows and unravel the truth behind their curse? Or would she become yet another whisper lost in the dark? The crack of light pulsed through the shadows, pushing them back, but the chill that accompanied it gnawed at Mia's resolve. She could hear whispers swirling, clawing at the fringes of her mind, each one laced with desperation and despair. "You shouldn't have come here, you'll regret this." The vibrant classroom began to tremble, the cheerful colors morphing into shadows that contorted and writhed. A split second of clarity surged through her, a fleeting realization. This room wasn't meant to be safe, it was a facade, a trap dressed in brightness to lure her deeper into the nightmare. Mia, the voice again, sharp and pleading, emerging from the haze. This time it wasn't Kyle, but a chorus of voices, her friends, their faces flickering in and out of memory. "Tell me where you are," she cried, her heart racing with an urgency fueled by fear. "I want to leave you." But the classroom walls closed in. Desperate, she thrust her hand forward, light emanating fiercely as if from a dying sun. The ground shook beneath her, and with each tremor, shadows shrieked and hissed, their whispers turning frenzied. "Leave. You don't belong here. We need you to go." Mia's pulse thundered in her ears, the shadows' desperation nearly drowning her resolve. They wanted her to leave, to flee into the darkness outside, but that wasn't an option. Not now. Not when her friends were suffering. With renewed determination, she stepped deeper into the shimmering light, ready to confront whatever lay ahead. Then came the pain. A searing jolt shot through her body, forcing her to her knees as the shadows twisted around her, claws digging deep into her flesh. She gasped, pulling at the pain, forcing herself to remember Kyle's laughter, the way they played together. "Remember us," she whispered, feeling fragments of their memories flicker like dying embers in her mind. "I'm here. I won't abandon you." The shadows shrieked and writhed as if her words were physical blows. Suddenly, Mia felt heat at her back, a flicker of warmth radiating from what she couldn't see. She turned just in time to see the shadows recoil, as if something was pushing them back. The hauntings of their broken forms began to tremble with the threat of obliteration. "Stop!" A voice thundered from behind her, cutting through the chaos. "You're driving them mad." Mia turned sharply, the light momentarily fading as her focus wavered. A figure emerged from the gloom, tall, imposing, familiar. "No. Kyle? Is that really you?" His face was marred by shadows, eyes sunken and sorrowful. "You shouldn't be here. You'll become like us." "What do you mean?" Her voice trembled as the darkness paused, hovering ominously. "Tell me how to save you." The shadows shivered at his words, and in that instant, Mia saw the truth. The power they held was rooted deep within their bonds, their shared memories. But the shadows didn't want her to unearth that truth. "Mia!" Kyle shouted, voice strained. "You have to fight, but you must let go." "No!" she cried, feeling a wall of panic reassembling. "I won't abandon you." A haunting silence settled like a shroud. Shadows crept closer, coiling around her feet, squeezing tighter until the weight became unbearable. "You can't save us. You must run." With a sudden surge of determination, she ripped free from their grasp, stepping toward Kyle. Her heart charged with fury and love, she mustered the strength to push through, swinging her light outward, breaking through layers of darkness. The shadows screeched, retreating, but darkness fluttered back, eager to reclaim its hold. "Mia!" Kyle's eyes widened, a hint of fear igniting in their depths. "Don't let them take you." In that moment, a choice hung in the air, heavy with consequences. Could she abandon her friends? Their shadows were still lives worthy of fighting for. Mia felt the room shifting, grips tightening and loosening like a predator toying with its prey. She had to act fast. Would she seize the flickering hope of light, or would she risk descending into complete darkness, where she might never emerge again? As the shadows surged once more, hungry and relentless, an inexplicable force ignited within Mia. "I will fight for you," she screamed, a vow laced with defiance, and as the shadows lunged for her, she prepared herself for a battle that would echo through the halls of darkness, a figure refusing to be another lost whisper. But what would it cost her heart and soul? The struggle for survival beckoned, but the answer hung tantalizingly out of reach. The shadows lunged with a fury that darkened the edges of Mia's vision. The classroom, swirling with chaos, felt alive, each desk and chair an anchor of terror tethered to the ground. She could feel the chill invading her skin, creeping under her fingernails, a reminder of the hell encroaching in relentless waves. Each tensile grasp was a reminder of what awaited her if she failed. "Mia, focus." Kyle's voice sliced through the din like a knife, sharp and desperate. "You can't let them win. Remember us." With every ounce of strength, she held tight to her memories, to the laughter of long summer days and the warmth of shared secrets. Her heart pulsed in rhythm with a determination that ignited within her. It wasn't just light that she wielded, it was love, pure and powerful. "Get back!" Mia bellowed, a reflexive warning surging through her resolve. She thrust her hands outwards, forming a barrier of luminescence that illuminated the room in a shocking burst, a lighthouse amidst a storm. The shadows howled, a visceral reaction to her shining defiance, momentarily retreating as she pushed forward, fueled by raw fear and indomitable hope. The air crackled with tension, thick with despair. But as the warmth of her light pushed against the encroaching darkness, small details caught her eye, faint outlines of her friends, barely visible, stranded between flickering half-memories and reality. Their faces, pinched with panic and desperation, mirrored her own. Mia, the echoes of their voices enveloped her, a haunting chorus that tugged at her heartstrings. "Help us! Save us!" But with every plea, the shadows lurched closer, their forms shifting with an insatiable hunger. The fragmentary memories of her friends twisted and unraveled like a fraying thread, threatening to drag her down into despair. "No more!" she shouted, her voice ramping up, shaking like a war cry. With every word, she felt the edges of her reality sharpening, her light flaring with renewed intensity. "I refuse to let you take me or them." The shadows lashed out again, but Mia stood her ground, arms poised as if ready to embrace the weight of the world. They clawed at her, tearing at the fabric of her clothes, their whispers escalating into a frenzied wail. "Leave us be," she murmured, sensing the heaviness in their cries. An old pain, an unanswered grief lingered in her heart, yet she knew she couldn't ignore the call for help. "I'm fighting for you." As she spoke, a sudden calm enveloped her, a sliver of silence amidst the chaos. The shadows recoiled, as if her words rang out like church bells, resonating with something they feared. She could feel the light pulsing from her core, an echo of her friendships, entwined through memories she had fought to hold. Then came the moment of clarity. If she could merge the light inside her with their light, she could push the darkness back. This was the breakthrough she had been searching for. "Remember our laughter," Mia cried out, her voice trembling but forceful. "Remember the good. Revel in our joy." As if responding to her call, the shadows began to twirl around her, caught in a vortex of their own making. They twisted and fought, the music of their despair clashing against the echoes of her love. She lost the ground beneath her feet but didn't falter. Then, without warning, a glimmer sparked within the shadows, a faint shimmer that mirrored her own resolve. But darkness shrieked, thrashing against the awakening light. "Mia! Look out!" Kyle shouted, his voice laden with panic. She turned in time to see a massive shadow surge towards her, rippling with rage and sorrow, a monstrous wave determined to consume her light. "Hold on!" Mia breathed out, pushing every ounce of energy toward her emerging allies. If they fought together against the encroaching horror, perhaps they could reclaim their reality from the abyss. A storm of energy erupted between them, threatening to destroy everything within its reach, and as the screams of shadows crescendoed, Mia steeled herself. She had to embrace this final act, a bridge into the heart of despair where light and memory would either triumph or shatter entirely. But as the chaos spiraled out of control, a chilling thought slithered through her mind. What if joining forces meant bringing an even darker truth to light? With shadows ricocheting dangerously close, Mia couldn't shake the gnawing question, was this truly a fight for their freedom, or a plunge into something far more sinister? Flashes of white-hot light exploded around Mia, illuminating the darkness that had threatened to devour her whole. For a fleeting moment, the air was alive with whispers both sinister and sorrowful as the shadows squirmed in disarray, but in that brilliance, something flickered in the corner of her eye. One shadow larger, more defined broke free from its confines, moving towards her with a grace that felt wrong, too fluid for the chaos around it. It was as if the creature had waited for the precise moment to strike. "Mia, stay with us." Kyle's voice rang sharp, but it was drowned beneath the mounting tumult. The clouds of darkness writhed, and pity gnawed at her heart. She could see the pain behind the eyes of the shadows now, a sorrow that seeped from some deep well of suffering. No. She couldn't. They weren't living things, weren't even truly her friends anymore. The thought pulled at her, dragging her resolve dangerously thin. Still, hope bubbled within her, wrapping around her heart and lifting her spirit. "Remember our joy," she called again, her voice echoing defiantly. She felt the light gathering, a palpable energy surging forth from her hands like a beacon, but doubt had crept in, leaving a bitter taste on her tongue. What was she awakening? Could these shadows hold truths she wasn't ready to face? In a desperate bid, Mia reached out to connect with the flickering sparks within the dark forms. "Fight with me," she screamed, the sound tearing from her throat. With that, the shadows twisted violently. It felt like a storm, each swirl threatening to tear her apart but also drawing her deeper into the essence of their struggle. The sensation was suffocating as clarity washed over her. She was standing on the threshold of something more than fear. Suddenly, the large shadow lunged again. Its edges blurred, and Mia saw not just her friends' faces twisted in anguish, but unfamiliar ones, a frantic mix of students from years past, caught between dimensions, forever seeking release. "No!" she shouted, horrified. "I want to let you take them." As she forced her energy outward, the room vibrated violently. The mid-October chill bit at her, making her hands numb. Just as the massive shadow reached her, a tidal wave of cold desperation whacked into her, an urge to scream, to cower, to run. "Mia!" Kyle's voice fell flat, drowning in despair as he fought to hold on to the light. Sparks ignited within her, urging her to break free, but memories flooded her thoughts, tragedies she thought buried, lost lives from past school days. The darkness seeped through her resolve, drowning out laughter. Why? Why now? Then the world spun, colors blending together, the blur, a nauseating twist of reality and dreams. She could feel their cries grow louder, drowning her thoughts. They wanted to be remembered, but at what cost? "Help us" echoed through her ears. The light erupted, blinding and fierce, as Mia faced the darkness head-on. She gritted her teeth, pushing against the pull of gloom threatening to drag her down. She needed to stand firm. Needed to switch the saving light into a weapon, but in that raw moment of defiance, she felt the shadows clinging back, grasping for her, clawing for truth, secrets buried deep in their silent screams. Each pulse of light danced between hope and horror, counting moments before collapse. Then, a terrifying realization hit: the shadows didn't simply want to take her, they wanted to show her. With trembling hands and racing heart, she whispered, "What are you hiding?" And there, nestled within the chaos, the flickering memories of her friends glowed brighter, and for a fraction of a second, clarity pierced the darkness, but shadows still spun, still cried, and no answer came. Only silence. This time, the weight of despair in the air thickened. "Mia," a voice still faintly echoed, trembling through darkness laden with sorrow. As she prepared for the possibility of something even more sinister lurking in the shadows, an unsettling thought crawled into her mind. What if they weren't just searching for salvation but for revenge? Mia felt the shadows closing in again, an unsettling pull toward the abyss of unspoken truths that could turn everything she once believed inside out. The air crackled with tension, suffocating and thick, as Mia stumbled backward, her pulse pounding in her ears. The shadows, more animated now, twisted closer, merging into a whirlpool of anguished faces that haunted her conscience. "Stay away!" she screamed, a fresh surge of energy erupting from her. But it felt desperate, a flicker fighting an encroaching darkness that was too familiar and unervingly powerful. She strained to pull back, but their whispers wrapped around her, relentless and urgent. "Remember. Don't forget." The words pierced through her, sharp and echoing. Quite suddenly, she was overwhelmed by images, frantic messages scrawled in notes, laughter that now felt like an echo of doom. Moments replayed in her mind like a warped film reel. She fought against the influence that tried to push her deeper into herself. "Face it." One shadow suddenly boomed, its voice cascading through the haze, steeped in fury. "You think you know? You think you're free?" Mia felt the heat of shame seize her. It struck hard enough to burn, an ember igniting within her gut. Chills broke out along her skin as the figure prowled closer, its elongated limbs slicing through the air, demanding attention. "What are you?" she panted, disbelief clawing at her breath. "We are all that you wish to forget." It snarled, the cacophony of mournful voices rising behind it like a wicked choir. "You shut us down. You sealed us tight. And now, we will show you." The light around Mia pulsed, uneven, her sanctuary flickering as the shadows surged in response. Their essence, guilt, sorrow, anger, began to weave into her consciousness, dragging her under, dragging her back into old memories. Images crashed through her mind like waves. The face of a boy she'd once known, forlorn and pleading, a paper airplane sent soaring only to crumple with failure. Flashes of a heartfelt song sung at winter assembly, laughter spilling from the crowd like confetti, now a defiled ghost. "Stop!" she shouted, shaking her head violently. She clawed at the tears that streamed down her cheeks, each drop a reminder of lives cut short. She didn't want to remember. She couldn't afford to let them live in her, in this haunted state. "Let us free," another shadow pleaded softly, almost tenderly, as cracks of vulnerability peeked through anger. "We won't forget what you owe." "No." Mia's heart raced, grounded in fear and desperation. "You should have moved on. You should have," but the shadows surged forward once more, unrelenting. Memories rushed in, bursting through barriers like limbs breaking free from a grave. The shadows shifted, contorting painfully, revealing not just faces from the past but symbolizing lives lost amid tragedy and turmoil. "Do you wish for revenge?" one shadow hissed, its voice layered with malice. "To erase the past is to forget our pain." Mia staggered, her world shaking around her. She felt ensnared in their web, teetering on the precipice of a terrifying truth. "Why me?" she rasped. "What do you want from me? You were the light. You must choose," the shadows rumbled, merging into one throaty cry that shattered through the silence. "Reveal your truth or remain just as we are lost." Just like that, Mia grappled with weighty breaths, the room thickening with a pulse of inevitability. She couldn't fight them. Fear wrestled with her will to survive, and for a moment, the shadows fell silent, poised to hear her answer. The weight of their gazes bore down on her, each flickering moment stretching into eternity. What would she reveal? What truths lie tangled in pain, yearning for release? And she realized with an icy grip that perhaps the most terrifying secret of all was her own. Her resolve crumbled. "I just want Mia." Kyle's voice screamed through the dark, echoing her own panic. Suddenly, she was jolted back into the chaos around her, blinking frantically as shadows lunged forward. Before she could comprehend, cold hands grasped at her wrists. "Do it!" they urged, voices merging into one menacing growl. "Embrace your truth or fall into our darkness." As Mia felt the shadows pulling her deeper and deeper, she had one last fleeting thought: could she face her own darkness before it consumed her whole? With every ounce of strength left, she braced herself, ready to confront the truth waiting in the shadows, what happens when the light flickers out completely? Mia stood at the crossroads of light and shadow, illuminated by the last flickers of hope that still danced within her heart. The shadows lunged, dark claws grasping at her frail figure. Fear rippled through her veins, but the love she held for her friends surged like a tidal wave, a fire igniting in her core. "I want to let you take me, or anyone else," she shouted, her voice piercing the heavy, oppressive atmosphere. "Embrace your truth." The shadows demanded, their voice a chaotic blend of haunted cries. Mia felt the pull of delusion tugging at her, whispering enticing lies. They wanted her to yield, to give in to despair. But she couldn't. Not now. With her heart racing, she dug deep within herself, clear memories weaving through her mind like threads connecting her past to the present. Laughter in the halls echoed, the warmth of friendship glowing brightly against the chill that threatened to consume her. "This isn't just about me," she bellowed, tears streaming down her face. I remember you, all of you." It was as if a switch had been flipped. Light burst forth, exploding from Mia like a grenade in the dark, illuminating the faces of her friends caught in the shadows. They were there, unmistakable and yearning. "We were all scared. We've all lost something." She could feel their sorrow mirrored in her own soul. "But I want to let your pain turn into revenge. I'll carry you with me instead." The shadows recoiled, uncertainty oozing from them like a putrid mist. "You can't turn your back," they howled, their voice resonating through the room like a thunderclap. "I'm not turning my back, I'm facing it." Mia rallied, her arms raised in defiance. Dust motes danced in the newfound light, swirling around her and igniting something powerful in her chest. "Together, we will remember. Together, we can find peace." The darkness contorted and shifted, growing frantic beneath the warmth spreading from her heart. Shadows writhed in agony, sensing a truth they could not grasp, a connection they had long forgotten. "Stay strong. Stay together," Kyle shouted, his voice piercing the fog, pulling everyone back, guiding them to the core of their united strength. Mia's light pulsed intensely, reaching out to envelop her friends, drawing them from despair. Mia felt the echoes of their pain, but also their love. It was enough. In that shared moment, the grief morphed into solace. They could honor their memories without being consumed by them. The shadows shrieked, their hollow sounds clawing at the walls around them. "This isn't your fate," Mia cried, urgency cutting through the chaos. "Join us in the light." Suddenly, the energy crackled and surged, vibrating with a rhythm of hope. Shadows solidified, reluctantly retreating. "No. You don't understand," they bellowed, their voices dark and desperate. "You can't abandon the past." "I want to abandon it," Mia retorted fiercely, pushing back against their rage. "I'll carry it with me. But I refuse to let it define who we are. We can move forward." With that rejection, another pulse of energy exploded from her, radiant and warm, expanding like the first blooms of spring. The shadows reeled, screeching against her power. Every heartache, every fearful whisper, began to dissolve, replaced by a collective warmth that was too vibrant to resist. A final roar echoed as Mia's belief in love and memory shattered the darkness completely, scattering it like ashes in the wind. She stood tall, her friends forming a circle around her, and together they pulsed with light. The darkness surged one last time, then shattered beneath their unity, evaporating into nothingness, breath caught in Mia's throat. Silence embraced them. And then Mia opened her eyes. She struggled to stand, looking around the familiar confines of the classroom. No shadows loomed, no lurking horror haunted them. The bell rang, echoing like a sweet chime of freedom, pulling them from the brink. "Mia?" She heard a familiar voice. Kyle stood there, unharmed, blinking with confusion and relief. "Mia, are we okay?" Sarah's voice was tight, but hope threaded through her question. I think we are, Mia breathed, feeling the weight of the world lift from her shoulders. They had faced the dark together, and while pain lingered, it didn't suffocate. They gathered in a tight embrace. Nothing had been forgotten, but everything could move forward. Mia caught her breath and whispered into the air, "We'll remember them all," and moved toward the light. In that moment, as they stepped out into the sunlit hallway, the laughter of their past echoed behind them. They had walked through darkness together, and now they would carry their stories into tomorrow. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. We want to hear from you. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support is what keeps the stories coming.